Somewhere in your backyard right now, there's a tiny wriggling creature doing more for your soil than any bag of fertilizer you've ever bought. And here's the twist nobody tells you: most gardeners are choosing between earthworms and compost like it's a boxing match, picking a winner, when the truth is far stranger and far more useful than that. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which one your garden actually needs, and I promise you, the answer is not what you think. Stick around, because the reveal in the middle of this video might just change how you look at your soil forever. Hey there, welcome back to Evergreen Garden Tips, the channel where we make gardening simple, affordable, and honestly, a little fun, especially for those of us who didn't grow up with fancy gardening gadgets and just want our plants to thrive without draining our wallets. If this is your first time here, welcome, grab a cup of tea, get comfortable, because today we're digging into one of the biggest debates in the gardening world. And if you're one of our regulars, you already know how we do things around here: no fluff, no complicated jargon, just real answers that actually work in your backyard. Before we get into it, if you're new here, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, because every week we bring you simple tips that help your garden grow stronger without spending a fortune. And if you're already subscribed, thank you, you're the reason this channel keeps growing. Alright, let's get our hands dirty. Section 1. The hidden workers under your feet. Let's start with earthworms, because most people think a worm is just a worm. It wiggles, it's a bit slimy, maybe it startles you when you're digging a hole for a tomato plant. But here's what almost nobody tells beginners. An earthworm is basically a walking, tunneling, soil processing machine, except it never asks for a paycheck. Think about it this way. Every single day, an earthworm eats its way through soil, dead leaves, and old plant bits, and what comes out the other end is something gardeners quietly call black gold. It's not a nickname I made up for fun, it's genuinely how experienced growers talk about worm castings, because that material is packed with nutrients your plants can absorb almost immediately. But the real magic isn't even in what worms leave behind. It's in what they do while they're moving. As earthworms tunnel through your garden bed, they create these tiny highways underground. Those tunnels let air reach plant roots, they let water soak in instead of pooling on top and drowning your poor petunias, and they let roots stretch out further than they normally could in tightly packed soil. So if your garden has a good population of earthworms, you're basically getting free tilling, free aeration, and free fertilizing, all from a creature that costs you nothing if your soil is already healthy enough to support them. Now here's a fun thing most people don't know. Earthworms don't actually create their own food from nothing. They rely almost entirely on organic material already present in the soil, things like fallen leaves, grass clippings, and decomposing roots. Which means if your soil is bare, compacted, and stripped of organic matter, your earthworm population will struggle no matter how much you want them there. That single fact right there is going to matter a lot in a few minutes, so keep it in the back of your mind. Section 2. The slow cooker of the garden world. Now let's talk about compost, because compost gets talked about constantly, but rarely explained simply. Picture compost like a slow cooker sitting quietly in the corner of your yard. You toss in your kitchen scraps, your banana peels, your coffee grounds, your fallen leaves, maybe some shredded newspaper, and over weeks or months, heat builds up inside that pile from the activity of bacteria and fungi breaking everything down. Eventually what you're left with is a dark, crumbly, earthy-smelling material that is essentially concentrated plant nutrition. Unlike earthworms, compost doesn't move, it doesn't tunnel, and it doesn't aerate soil on its own. What it does instead is feed the soil directly with nutrients your plants need, things like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, but in a gentler, slower-released form than most store-bought fertilizers. Here's something that surprises a lot of beginners. Good compost also improves how soil holds water. If your soil tends to dry out fast in the summer heat, compost acts almost like a sponge, holding moisture near the roots so your plants aren't gasping for water every single day. And here's the part that matters most for anyone watching this because they're trying to save money. Compost is essentially free. You're using kitchen waste and yard waste that would otherwise go straight into a garbage bin. No purchase required, just a bit of patience. So now you're probably sitting there thinking, alright, earthworms sound amazing, and compost sounds amazing, so which one do I actually need? And that question right there is exactly the trap almost every gardening video online sets for you. Section 3, the twist. Here's the truth nobody puts in the title of their video, because it doesn't sound as exciting. Earthworms and compost were never competing against each other. They are, in every sense of the word, partners. Compost feeds earthworms. Earthworms process compost even further, breaking it down into castings that are even more nutrient-dense than the compost was on its own. And as earthworms move through compost-rich soil, they spread those nutrients around your garden bed far more evenly than you ever could with a shovel. In other words, asking which one is better is a bit like asking whether flour or water is better for making bread. Separately, they're fine. Together, they create something your garden actually thrives on. So if you've been out there choosing sides, thinking you need to pick a team, I want you to relax, because the actual secret experience gardeners use is combining both, in the right way, at the right time, without spending much money at all. And that's exactly what we're going to walk through together in the second half of this video. Before we continue, if this is helping things click for you, do me a quick favor. Tap that like button, it genuinely helps this channel reach more beginner gardeners just like you. And drop a comment down below telling me, do you already have a compost pile, or are you starting completely from scratch this year? I read every single comment, and I love seeing where everyone is starting from. And of course, if you haven't subscribed yet, now's a perfect time, because what's coming up next is the part that ties everything together. Section 4, how to combine them without spending much. Alright, let's get practical, because information without action doesn't grow a single tomato. The simplest way to bring earthworms and compost together is something gardeners call a compost bin with worm activity, sometimes informally called worm composting or vermicomposting. Now don't let that word intimidate you, it sounds far more complicated than it actually is. You don't need a fancy purchase bin. A simple plastic storage container with holes poked in the sides and bottom for airflow works perfectly fine. You add your kitchen scraps, a bit of shredded paper or dried leaves for balance, and then you introduce a small population of earthworms, usually a type called red wigglers, because they handle this kind of environment especially well. Those worms will slowly work through your compost material, speeding up the breakdown process and enriching it at the same time. Within a few weeks, instead of waiting months for compost to fully mature on its own, you get faster, richer results. If setting up a separate bin feels like too much right now, here's an even simpler approach. Just start adding your compost directly into your garden beds, spread thinly across the surface or lightly mixed into the top layer of soil. Earthworms already living in healthy soil will naturally be drawn to that organic material and start doing the work for you, no bin required. Section 5, mistakes beginners make. Now let's talk about a few mistakes I see often, especially from beginners who are excited and want to do everything right away. The first mistake is burying compost too deep. If you dig a hole and bury compost far below the surface, it breaks down slower and earthworms have a harder time reaching it efficiently. Keep it closer to the surface, mixed into the top few inches of soil. The second mistake is adding things that don't belong in compost, like meat, dairy, or oily foods. These items attract pests, create bad smells, and can actually harm the beneficial organisms you're trying to encourage. Stick to fruit and vegetable scraps, coffee grounds, eggshells, and yard waste like leaves and grass clippings. The third mistake, and this one surprises people, is using chemical pesticides or synthetic fertilizers heavily in a garden where you're trying to build a healthy earthworm population. Certain chemicals can seriously harm or even kill earthworms, which defeats the entire purpose of encouraging them in the first place. Section 6, a simple weekly routine. Here's a routine you can realistically follow without it becoming another chore on your list. Once a week, add your collected kitchen scraps to your compost area, whether that's a bin or directly onto a garden bed. Give it a light turn or stir if you can, just to help air reach the material. Keep the area slightly moist, similar to a damp sponge, not soaking wet and not bone dry. And every few weeks, check for earthworm activity. If you're seeing tunnels and worms moving through, that's a sign your soil is genuinely coming alive. That's it. No expensive equipment, no complicated schedule, just small consistent actions that build something powerful over time. So let's circle back to that question from the very beginning of this video. Earthworms or compost, which one is actually better for your garden? The honest answer, and the twist I promised you, is that compost is the food, and earthworms are the workers who turn that food into something even more powerful. You don't have to choose. You just have to feed the system, kitchen scraps and yard waste going in, patience and a little consistency along the way, and your garden rewards you with soil that's alive, breathing, and genuinely working in your favor, all without spending much money at all. That's the real secret experience gardeners rarely explain clearly, because it's not flashy, it's not a quick fix, it's just quiet, steady teamwork happening right under your feet. If you learned even one new thing today, that makes this entire video worth it to me. Gardening after 60 shouldn't feel intimidating or expensive, it should feel like something that brings you joy, a little exercise, and honestly, a lot of pride when you see what you've grown with your own 2 hands. So before you go, subscribe if you haven't already, so you don't miss next week's video, hit that like button if this helped you even a little, and leave a comment telling me what garden topic you want us to cover next. I read every single one, and honestly, your comments shape a lot of what we cover on this channel. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Keep those hands in the dirt, and I'll see you in the next one.